on vinyl community, welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Kansas vinyl reissues from Friday Music. What can be said about the band Kansas? They are one of the most famous and important American rock bands, and one that successfully incorporated English progressive rock and hard rock influences and brought forth a commercial approach to their writing where it came off as radio friendly, with songs such as Carry On Wayward Son and Dust in the Wind, just to name a couple. They are a band that is still celebrated on classic rock radio stations and still perform and record to this day. They just put out a record a couple years ago called The Prelude Implicit, which is their first studio album since, I would say, 2000. You really got to give it a listen. It's fantastic Kansas stuff. I've had the pleasure of seeing them live several times, and it's thanks to my parents for turning me onto them at a very young age in the first place. So enough of the chit chat, let's jump into what this video is all about. The reissue label Friday Music has been putting out new pressings of the classic Kansas catalog back out in the vinyl market as far back as 2010, and they've done it rather sporadically, but so far they have reissued what many will consider to be the most classic period, which is 1974 to 1980. So the first ones that they did in 2010 were Left Overture and Point of No Return. Now, Point of No Return got a repressing in 2018, this time as a color variant, and that is actually the pressing that I have, and it comes on this really nice translucent gold and blue vinyl, which looks absolutely spectacular. And then after those two albums, which granted I would say are like the core Kansas albums that are must-haves, I would say, we have a little bit of a gap, and they picked up the releases in 2013, where we got reissues of the self-titled debut and their third album, Mask. Now, just like Point of No Return, the self-titled debut did get a colored repress on the same type of translucent gold and blue vinyl that Point of No Return got. And then in 2014, we got the second album, Song for America. And then we also got the compilation, The Best of Kansas, which came out in 1984. This got a repress in 2018, and that's the pressing that I have. And it comes pressed on rather nice opaque red vinyl. And then the next year, in 2015, we got a reissue of the double live album, Two for the Show, which came out back in 1978. Fantastic live record. And then we have a little bit of a gap once again. And then in 2018, the reissues pick up, and we kind of go a little bit more out of sequence. We get Audio Visions. Now, from this point on, they start doing solely color variants. And this particular one comes, hopefully the camera can make it out well, it comes on like translucent black and blue marble vinyl. If you hold it to a light, you'll really get the effect, but maybe you can kind of see it in the camera. And then just recently, we got, I guess you could say, the notable gap between all of the albums that I've shown so far. We got Monolith, and they did two color variants for this one. There was a blue and gold swirl version, and then there was also a red and orange swirl. Now, considering that I have the gold version of Point of No Return and I have the blue version of Audio Visions, I decided to be different, and I went ahead and got the red and orange version, as you see here. Now, all of the artwork is faithfully replicated with these reissues, and one of the things that Friday Music does as a label is feature gatefold sleeves, and even for albums that never came with a gatefold. So in some cases where the original album came in a single sleeve with a printed inner sleeve or an insert, they would go ahead and make that printed inner sleeve or insert into a gatefold. So for example, I have Song for America. You open it up, and you essentially get inside the gatefold what the printed inner sleeve would be with the artwork and the lyrics, which personally I really like this touch. Adds a little bit of uniqueness to the pressing, and also it just makes it rather deluxe because you can pretty much avoid putting the record in a printed inner sleeve with the artwork. You can just make it into a gatefold, which can make way to nice anti-static sleeves, which I will get to in a minute. Now, there are some cases where there is already a gatefold as part of the artwork, so what they'll do is they will include the printed inner sleeves as inserts. So, for example, in Monolith, we have like a rather recognizable gatefold sleeve here, and then the insert is essentially what the inner bag would be. So you have the portraits on this side, and then the lyrics on this side. And then one notable bonus, which comes with particularly Audiovisions and Monolith, are big blow-up posters of the album artwork. I don't think it came, with Monolith, but I think it did with Audiovisions, because my mom said she had an old vinyl copy and it came with a poster. I'll have to do some research on that, but I'll just show you guys what it looks like. It's essentially the album cover, but made big, which is nice. It adds a little bit of extra value to this particular pressing by getting this as an extra. Now, the records do come in very nice, heavy-duty, anti-static inner sleeves, which are absolutely very, very nice. I believe they're made of like a PVC plastic type of material. I know some people in the past have had bad experiences with PVC sleeves. Apparently they leach onto the vinyl, but in my experience, I've had no bad experiences. They're really nice and sturdy. They get the job done very well, and it's just a very deluxe feeling type of inner sleeve. One of the best that you can get next to the MoFi sleeve. Now, in terms of the mastering, the self-titled debut, Song for America, Mask, and Best of Kansas were done by Ron McMaster. Left Overture, Point of No Return, Two for the Show, and Audiovisions were done by Kevin Gray, and Monolith was done by Ian Sefcik. All of the releases were pressed at RTI, so all the pressings are of amazing quality, flawless pressing, and absolutely deluxe to the touch. They really did a fantastic job with pressing these up. Now, overall, these reissues are absolutely fantastic. Now, granted, you can easily find Kansas albums for inexpensive prices at your local record store and in plentiful since they sold millions. But if you're setting out to find a dead mint copy and great sounding, these reissues will do you well. And I do have to say that one of the reissues that stands out from them all is Left Overture. It is a brilliantly recorded album, and Kevin Gray's mastering work on this just brings this album to life, and it stands out as perhaps one of the greatest sounding pressings in my collection. So if you have not heard the Friday Music version of this album, I really recommend that you do so. It is absolutely a treat. Now, I should mention that the addition of colored vinyl variants to some of the recent reissues and represses do add an element of collectability for those that are into color variants. So, in a way, this campaign can please two demographics of vinyl consumers: the audiophile who cares about the sound quality, kind of like myself, and the collector who is into getting all the color variants. For myself, if it's an album that I don't have in my collection and I come across a variant, then it's pretty much fair game. Now, these reissues are still available and obtainable for around $25 on average. The Friday Music titles usually run around $30 or more, which is a rather high price tag when you compare it to other reissue labels and how they price things at. But if you can find a deal on them and a decent price drop, snag them. You will not be disappointed. I've seen them drop for as low as like maybe $13 on Amazon once. So if you keep your eyes open, you might come across a really good deal. So there you go. That is what I think of the Kansas vinyl reissues from Friday Music. Here's a question for you guys. What do you guys think of these reissues? Do you own some of them? What are your thoughts and opinions? Please let me know down in the comment section below. I'd love to know. And if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the record spinning.